So we'll go in and take an inventory of assets, do power consumption analysis, look at the cooling capacity, out of tolerance conditions, take all those metrics and collect that data, and then go back and analyze it and try to develop a clear picture of what the state of business is at that point in time. What's the baseline that we're dealing with?
What do you consider an out-of-tolerance condition? It may vary from shop to shop, but do you have a...
Yeah, I mean, for example, an easy one, a real easy one is inlet temperature. Your service may be out of the ASHRAE required inlet limit. So some of these things may be unknown because, as you know, temperature is invisible. You need to measure it with instrumentation, or so it's important to identify these out of tolerance conditions right up front. It's also important at this stage to get in a room with the stakeholders and address all their issues and concerns. Okay, I just note a few of the topics that should be discussed and addressed at this stage. Costs, legacy design mentality. You may have some traditional facilities people in there who are reluctant to change. You need to at least listen to them and hear their concerns. Lack of trust in the technology. Some of these containment solutions may come across to the stakeholders as brand new, not well established, or they may think they're unreliable or unproven at that point. It's important to get it all on the table. This is the point where you sit around a round table and listen to all of these concerns and questions, and hopefully gain that trust within the organization to steer them in the right direction. And that's really key. This is a key pivotal point where you get in a room with the key stakeholders and hopefully gain consensus within the room to all head in one direction. It can be chaotic at the beginning, but hopefully at the end of the meeting you walk out with a clear plan. Communication is vitally important. You cannot over-communicate. We recommend that you establish early on periodic pulse meetings with the client. And those pulse meetings, during those pulse meetings, you review progress reports, formal progress reports. And those progress reports contain information like, well, up front you establish who the project manager is, the contract, total amount of money that's allowed in the budget, the annual savings that you're targeting, completion date, and then in the middle in the white section, those are more status updates, okay? Where are we in the project? We're at phase 3, we're 70% complete. Are we on schedule? You know, how many contract days have been consumed? How many are left? What's the overall completion date of the project? All of these are very important to communicate to the stakeholders as you go through the project. And at the bottom, what are the issues you've come into contact with? What are the barriers, some of the things you've uncovered during the process? So let's get those right out front and communicate them. Phase 3, pre-implementation and planning. The pre-implementation phase is used to collect data and determine the data center baseline metrics. So once you've done your assessment, now it's important to establish the baseline. The collected data to be used to identify current conditions and issues in the data center, provide available solutions. What are the available containment solutions that address each issue? And then assist the customer to make the correct decisions. You know, maybe this is the point at which you want to share with them other data centers that you've worked on, what's worked and what hasn't worked. What is mentioned in them similar environments that you've worked in that are similar to their own, and what solutions have worked in those. So it's more taking a baseline of where they're at and then recommending good solutions that you think will apply and work for their environment. Also, let's not forget that any discovery during this phase may turn you to go back to assess and gather more information. So at any point during pre-implementation, implementation, even measurement and validation can turn you back and go back into an assessment phase. Those are the unforeseen issues that may crop up in the data center. A lot of unknowns. To help this process, I think it's important to understand what the impact is. So here we're helping the client to understand, okay, the possible solutions are at the bottom for containment. For example, blanking panels, sealing the raised floor, all those cable entry openings that you're cutting holes in floor tiles, are they sealed up or are they leaking? Subfloor partitioning. You have a zone in the corner where you have no equipment, yet your crack units are pushing cool air into that corner of the room. Why are you wasting that capacity? Why not partition it? Containment solutions like aisle containment are in the end. And what this is really showing is what's the insulation impact from just a comparative bar. The first two are very severe. Front to back rack mount equipment is pretty straightforward, but if you have Cisco Catalyst 6509 switches, they cool side to side. Are they appropriately baffled inside to make that airflow go front to back, or are they causing havoc within your data center? Those are difficult to install, especially in a live environment, to go in day two and then start to baffle a side-to-side switch. That's a good example of bar number one. Eliminate exhaust obstructions. Your cabling is all behind your server rack. All of your data cables from your NIC cards are all pre-terminated. Power cords are all plugged in. However, the guy who did it did a lousy job, and they're hanging right in front of the exhaust path, blocking all your airflow. So hopefully you can get in there and do some cable management without taking down the equipment. But that's a risk because you've got live gear, probably critical gear in that location. So the bar is high. Then again, the three in the middle are low-hanging fruit. Blanking panels. How many deploy blanking panels in their data center? Okay, very simple, low cost, and high impact. But you know, in this bar, very easy to install. Doesn't impact the installation or the live gear at all. Raised floors, again, a little bit higher impact because you get cabling that's already installed in the floor. So to go in there day two and start plugging holes can be difficult, but it can be done. Most of these floor grommets today come in two pieces, and you can install them without affecting the cables at all. So a good example of just the impact of the installation or the impact on the data center, on the live environment with some of these solutions, and it's good to kind of lay them out there. And the second one we look at is the cost. What's the cost of implementing these solutions, and how do they weigh in? So at the very end, containment appears to be somewhat high in comparison to these other solutions. Doing your side-to-side switches is right up there. Again, blanking panels, low cost. Rack hygiene, somewhat low cost. Okay, rack hygiene being plug all the holes in your IT racks. Eliminate the bypass airflow, the recirculation of hot air. Blanking panels in combination with good rack hygiene will really give you some real good efficiency gains. The third one we look at is energy efficiency benefit for each of these. And you can see at the end, containment is the highest. Deploying aisle containment, rack-based containment will get you your highest bang for your buck in terms of energy efficiency. The lowest, your side-to-side switches. Okay. Now, if you compare those all together, it's kind of interesting. And this is where you can look at trade-offs, okay? What's the, for example, what's the lowest cost, highest energy impact?